Hey guys, today I will be updating my prediction for the 2020 presidential election between, of course, President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Before that, make sure you join my Discord if you have not. I launched this just a couple days ago. It's a pretty cool place for us to hang out and chat about really whatever you guys want. There's some pretty cool events that are going on in there, so make sure you join my Discord if you have not. It's at the very top of the description below, so make sure you join that if you haven't. And now moving on to our electoral map. Basically today I'll be updating my prediction as we are now exactly 3 weeks away from election night. And so as of right now, Joe Biden is doing better than he's ever done this entire election cycle. Joe Biden has peaked in terms of his support so far, and next week is very important for the Trump campaign as he has less and less time to make up the ground that he desperately needs to make up. So first, I'm just going to fill in the solid states for both Joe Biden and Donald Trump, starting off with the solid Trump states. We have Idaho, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, Nebraska at large 1st and 3rd district vote, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia. I think that these are going to be all of the solid states for President Trump, giving him just 71 electoral votes. For Joe Biden, some solid states for the former vice president. We have Washington, Oregon, California. We have Hawaii as well, the state of Illinois, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, as well as, of course, the District of Columbia and the 1st District of Maine. This gives Joe Biden 183 electoral votes, as you can see, mostly from the West Coast. That's a huge chunk of it right there. California, 55 electoral votes, as well as Hawaii, and then almost all the Northeast is all controlled by the Democratic Party. And then we have the state of Illinois in the Rust Belt. And then some likely states for Donald Trump. These are states that I have absolutely no doubt that are going to go to President Trump, but these states are not going to go to him by a solid margin. Solid meaning 15% or more, likely meaning 7 to 15%. So these are states of Montana, Utah, of course, as you would expect. Montana was solid, as well as Utah, for President Trump in 2016, and now they are much closer than what they were just 4 years ago. Kansas, Missouri, and Mississippi will also be added into this section, as well as the state of Indiana. These will all be likely Trump states. And what's surprising is that every single red state on this map was very solid for President Trump. I mean, Alabama went to him by almost 30%, and now it's polling in favor of the president by just 19%. So many of these states are much closer than what they were before, and really showed in some of these closer states that didn't go to Trump by the strongest of margins in 2016. We also have the states of South Carolina and Alaska. I'm going to be a little bit safer. I'm not going to give these states to Donald Trump as lean states. He might be doing pretty badly in these two states, but I still think they are going to overperform for him, and I think that he is going to come out with likely victories in the states of Alaska and South Carolina, 9 and 3 electoral votes. These states went to the president by over 14% in 2016, so not quite a solid margin, but still very close to becoming a solid state for the president in 2016. Now for Joe Biden, he has quite a few likely states as well to take a look at, starting off with the state of Colorado and New Mexico, 9 and 5 electoral votes. These states both went to Hillary Clinton by some pretty small margins in 2016. In Colorado, she won by around 5%, New Mexico, I believe, around 8%. So honestly, not the greatest of margins for Secretary Clinton in 2016. However, she still was able to continue to carry these two states. So that's a positive for the Democrats. It puts Joe Biden up at 197 electoral votes. The state of Minnesota will also go to Joe Biden, a state that Hillary Clinton only won by 1.5% in 2016. Now Joe Biden polls here by plus 9% over Donald Trump. I think it's going to hit 10% very soon, and we'll see a very strong victory for Joe Biden in the state with the longest Democratic voting streak in the entire country. This is followed by the state of Michigan, 16 electoral votes also going to go to the former vice president. I think that Michigan definitely is very solid for Joe Biden at this point. I see no chance for Donald Trump to flip the state at this point in time. I say flip because at this point, most people have basically just concluded that Michigan is going to go to Donald Trump. I think that Trump has given up on the state of Michigan, and he's been pulling more and more ads out of the state. I think that he actually has no ads in Michigan at this point in time. Michigan will be pretty solid for Joe Biden with a likely margin in favor of the former vice president on election night. We also have the Maine at-large vote, which is pretty close to becoming a likely margin or a solid margin, but likely margin is my classification for right now. It is actually polling in favor of Joe Biden with a solid margin, but I think that will be a little bit closer on election night. We really don't have too much data out of the state of Maine. The state of New Hampshire will also be a likely state. It's another 4 electoral votes. A state that Hillary Clinton won by 0.3% in 2016, now going to be a likely state. Joe Biden's been over 10% here. He has surged quite a bit since the first debate in the state of New Hampshire. So many of the undecided voters moving towards the former vice president. And then finally, we have the state of Virginia. So this gives Joe Biden 242 electoral votes. Virginia, a state that the Republicans have not been able to win a statewide race here in over a decade. So honestly, the GOP has no chance in the state of Virginia anymore. This might have used to be a solid red GOP stronghold, but at this point in time, it is a likely Democratic state. So this is very similar to the 2016 map right here for Joe Biden. He won basically every single state that Clinton won in 2016 with a likely margin, with the exception of the state of Nevada, state that Clinton won. But I do not think it's going to be a likely margin for Joe Biden in 2020. But he does win the state of Michigan, which is why he has 10 more electoral votes than Hillary Clinton did with her 232 in 2016. And so next, there are no lean states on this map for President Trump. So I'm going to move on to the lean states for the former vice president. On this map, these gray states, these are the states that I consider to be the battleground states, states that both candidates should actually be fighting for to win. But Nevada, honestly, right now, it's a lean state for Joe Biden, and a state that I do not think that President Trump should actually put time and effort into. This is just because the state of Nevada, it might have been expected to go to President Trump on election night in 2016. Clinton still carried it by 2.4%, and Joe Biden is leading by 6.9% there. And I'm not giving it to Joe Biden with the lead margin just because of the polling data. I do think that at the end of the day, Nevada will be a little bit closer as of right now. However, if things are going to continue to benefit Joe Biden, I think that a lot of more states are going to be even more solid for Joe Biden. We might even see a solid margin for Joe Biden in the state of New Mexico. This would be one of the first times that a Democrat would win with a solid margin in New Mexico, a previously strong GOP state. So New Mexico polling in favor of Joe Biden by over 14% at this point. So really, it's very likely that we could actually see a 15-point margin for the former vice president in the state of New Mexico. The state of Arizona, 11 electoral votes. That is also going to go into the lean column for the former vice president. This is a state that Trump won by 3.6% in 2016. This is, of course, the home state of the late John McCain, and a state that Mark Kelly is expected to do very well in his Senate race here against Martha McSally. Arizona has been moving to the left in the last couple of decades. Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the entire country, and that influx of population is mainly from Hispanic and Latino voters, which will always swing to the Democratic Party. And then the state of Arizona, a state that has not gone to a Democrat since 1996. Joe Biden right now is very, very likely to flip the state of Arizona. This puts Joe Biden up at 259 electoral votes. Now I'm going to give Donald Trump the state of Texas with a tilt margin. This would put him up at 163 electoral votes. Right now, I would typically put Texas into the lean margin, but right now, I think that Texas is going to be a tilt state for President Trump. I think the numbers are getting closer and closer here once again. At one point, we even expected that Texas might actually go to Joe Biden, but right now, I don't see it going to Biden just because it's harder to vote by mail there in Texas. But I mean, that is definitely a political thing that they're doing there in Texas, allowing it, to be harder to vote by mail because Democrats vote by mail a lot more than Republicans typically. So that is definitely a partisan thing that they're doing in Texas, and I think that is going to give President Trump the edge in the state of Texas. So 38 electoral votes, very crucial to a Trump victory. And so President Trump basically needs to win every other state on this map. He can lose Wisconsin, but he has to win every other state, and I just don't see that happening. So in Iowa, I will also give to President Trump with the lead margin. Joe Biden might be leading in the polls here by 1%, but at the end of the day, this is still Iowa, a state that went to Trump by over 9% in 2016. I may actually move this over, but as of right now, I am confident that Iowa is probably still going to go to the current president. So Iowa will be a tilt state for President Trump. We may really actually see recount in some of these closer states like Iowa, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, even Florida maybe. If it really does get that close, if it's within a 0.5%, there will be a mandatory recount. And honestly, we may see something like we saw in the year 2000 between Al Gore and George W. Bush on election night. But I do not think that the Biden campaign will admit defeat if they are down. If we would really see a red mirage on election night, I do not think that the Biden campaign would surrender and call Donald Trump. I don't think Joe Biden would call President Trump on election. I think they would definitely take longer for the results to really come in and be independently certified. So Joe Biden will also carry the state of Wisconsin. That puts him up at 269 electoral votes. That is a lean state for the former vice president. And then the 2nd district of Nebraska, which I will give to Joe Biden as a lean district as well. This will put Joe Biden up at 270 electoral votes, winning the 2020 presidential election. The state of Pennsylvania I will give to Joe Biden as well, not Donald Trump, but Pennsylvania will be a Biden state. I will put it into the lean column for the former vice president. Not a likely state at this point. He is actually polling with a likely margin over President Trump in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, but it was close in 2016, and I think that it will be a little bit closer this time around. But definitely, I think he's going to win these states. I see no realistic scenario where Joe Biden does not win any of these 3 states. So definitely Joe Biden going to flip at least one state on this electoral map, especially Michigan. So very favorable map for Joe Biden right here, 290 electoral votes. I will also give the state of Ohio to Joe Biden. This was honestly a decision that was pretty hard to make, but I think that just because it's in the Rust Belt, it's not in the South, I do think that Ohio will flip back. A state that went to Trump by 8%, and a state that Barack Obama was able to carry in both 2008 and 2012. And, Biden, of course, had his recent Amtrak tour here in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and I think that Biden is gaining support here, and his polling numbers are pretty positive for the former vice president. State that Joe Biden in no way needs the state of Ohio, I do think is going to go to the former vice president. So Ohio, that's going to go to Joe Biden. But the state of Georgia, I will give to Donald Trump. This is purely because it is in the South. I mean, it is a southern state, and there's going to be a lot of voter suppression is going to occur. This was something that President Trump has been proven to have done in 2016, and something that he no doubt this time in 2020, when he is even he's in even more dire need of trying to suppress the vote from people of color, because that's what is going to lose him the election. And he honestly needs less people to vote, because of course the more people that vote, the higher chance that there's going to be a Democratic victory. So Donald Trump definitely going to deploy vote getting people not to vote in the South, just by putting up really small amounts of polling stations and all of that, as something that we've seen, in Georgia. There are huge lines to vote in this state, 16 electoral votes. There are huge lines in those predominantly black areas, and in a predominantly black area, the wait is typically 6 times longer than in a white area. So definitely, that is definitely something that has to do with the race that the GOP is doing here in Georgia. So that's definitely clear. But Joe Biden, I will give him the state of North Carolina as a tilt state. I do think that he will be able to carry this state for the first time since 2008 for the Democratic Party. I think that Joe Biden's numbers here are strong enough and have been strong enough for him this entire election cycle. He has been leading here the entire time. He hasn't even been leading the entire time in states like Arizona or Wisconsin. So North Carolina, definitely a very good sign for Joe Biden. I think he will carry North Carolina. I think that President Trump will carry the 2nd district of Maine once again with a tilt margin. The first time I have ever put this district into the Trump column, but the data does show some pretty positive signs for President Trump. Still a very close race there, but we'll see how the race progresses in the 2nd district of Maine in the next couple of weeks. But then the state of Florida, 29 electoral votes. That's going to go to Joe Biden with a tilt margin. And the reason why I'm putting it into the tilt column for Joe Biden, Florida is just always close. It's always going to be close. It's going to be close for the next couple of decades. And Florida always, like as I said, is close no matter what, no matter who's leading, no matter how large of a margin they win in. So Florida, I will give to Joe Biden with a tilt margin. There's no doubt in my mind that he's probably going to carry this state, but I do not think that the margin is going to be, too large or too surprising to see. So this would give Joe Biden 352 electoral votes to Donald Trump with 186. Joe Biden would outperform Barack Obama's 2008 margins, but he would not 2008. He would outperform Barack Obama's 2012 margins, but he would be 13 electoral votes away from the 365 that Obama was able to win in 2008. The states that Biden would flip, we have Arizona, that would be a Biden flip, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the 2nd district of Nebraska, North Carolina, and then lastly the state of Florida. So that's quite a few flips for the Democratic Party with Joe Biden on the ticket. 352 electoral votes, that would be a modern day landslide in this sort of political landscape that we're in right now. And so that would be it for this video. I do predict that Joe Biden will become the 46th president of the United States after everything is said and done, after the election is independently certified, and President Trump will be removed from office according to my prediction. And so yeah, that is it for this video. Please leave a like down below if you haven't. Make sure to join my Discord if you have not yet. Of course, it's at the very top of the description below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, along with any suggestions for videos you'd like to see from me in the future. And I will see all of you guys in the next video.